In this video, I'm going over 7 things that most men want, but probably won't ask for. All right, let's get right into it. Number 1, compliments and appreciation. It's one thing when, as you start a relationship where there's a lot of create that goes into the relationship. It's another after time you can start to forget that basic create that you need to do. Like, it's really important for guys to actually hear from you that you do appreciate efforts that they make and things like that. And it's really funny because sometimes it can be simple things like you go out, or he goes out and goes shopping and gets, takes care of a bunch of things that are needed and comes back. And maybe you're busy texting somebody or on Facebook and just getting the attention of, well, thank you for doing that, right? That's like really nice that you did that. It doesn't have to be like, oh my gosh, you're the most amazing person ever. Unless you want to do that, that's also pretty cool too. I'm just saying, like, it doesn't have to be over the top craziness, but it's cool to actually get the appreciation for that. You'll find that a lot of these things I go over today go both ways. So guys, make sure you appreciate your girl for what she does for you too. Listen to me. Number 2, spontaneity and passion. When I say that, sometimes people think we're just talking about the bedroom, and whereas that is one part of what we're talking about, it's not the entirety of what we're talking about, because yes, having that in the bedroom is fantastic. It really helps as one way of creating. Another way is, what about spontaneity on going out on dates? Like maybe the guy's the one who usually comes up with date ideas and has to do that, otherwise you guys don't do anything. And so if he doesn't do it, then you don't go. Why not maybe flip it around? Maybe you do it. And see, a lot of guys aren't gonna necessarily ask, hey, why don't you come up with a date idea? But if you surprise him every once in a while and say, hey, we're going out to blah, 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 and we're gonna do this and that, that's kind of cool. It's kind of cool, right, guys? This really does go both ways. One thing that obviously helps on the spontaneity and the passion is that you don't just let yourself go. It's like a stereotype for a guy that, he's all fit and has like, 12-pack abs and looks like, Rambo. Well, I don't know, he's kind of big, but whatever, you get the idea. He looks like super sing, like he could slice bread on those abs. And then, you get into a relationship and get married, and then all of a sudden, yeah. So, it's not a big deal to actually make the changes that you need to make in order to actually start turning around your life. Frankly, I actually did this the other way around. See, I had gotten so busy working, and I had gotten so much into trying to build an organization and all of this, and I was doing it in the wrong way. I wasn't actually building an organization. I wasn't actually having a great time doing it. And so what ended up happening is I gained a lot of weight. I ended up having high blood pressure. Like literally high blood pressure to the point that the doctor was like, I'm surprised you're not in the hospital right now. And this was at the age of 24. It was like pretty bad. So, but see, I had let myself go. I'd gained over 100 pounds. I was eating dessert for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And realize, guys, it does take some work, but it's simple. And when it starts with the decision for your body, we're gonna have another separate videos on this side of it. I was able to lose a lot of weight. I'm still doing that, but it's amazing because you can see the difference in your spouse. You can see the difference for them as you start dropping that weight. And frankly, it's healthier anyways. You can't say that having a lot of extra weight is a healthy way to go, right? So putting that work into it so that physically there is an attraction, that will definitely help with the passion. At the same time, you could also not have the passion and be physically attracted to the person. And so just keep that in mind, because it is something you have to constantly create and constantly put work into. Here's an interesting one. This, again, goes both ways, but I'm just telling you from the viewpoint of a guy, right? Many times, if somebody's running into a problem in a relationship, that it could be with something else in their life, and they're running into a problem, they can get into a situation, where they're telling the other person about the problems, and they're just telling them problem. Now, the other person cares about you, so they're gonna be inclined to wanna help you with the problem. Please, let us help. Don't just tell us the problem for the sake of having a problem, and then, I mean, what are we supposed to do? Hear that you have a problem and just be like, oh, okay, cool, and we're not gonna do anything about it? So if you don't want the problem solved, then don't say it in a way that makes us think that we have a problem that needs to be solved, because our inclination is to dive in and help you. Again, guys or girls, it doesn't matter. If you care about the other person, you don't want them to have problems. You don't want them to have these things. And so let them help you sometimes. Like, yes, okay, you want to just vent and you want to just say blah, 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 blah. And but I'll tell you, just sitting there and just complaining about some other person isn't gonna solve it. So why are you doing it? It ends up being like just spreading negative energy. Like you're frankly just dumping on somebody else's day. Take the opportunity to actually, if you're gonna give them a problem, let them help you solve it. Again, goes both ways. All right, point number 4. Yes, occasionally there are problems in a relationship, right? Like you're going through a problem, you're going through an issue, you have a problem, there's some upset. Great. When somebody says, are you upset? Or is there a problem? Or what's the deal? Don't say nothing. Don't say, no, it's fine, nothing. Okay? Again, goes both ways. I've literally seen it done. I've seen it both, and frankly, I've experienced both. I've done it the other way too. And so it's one of those things, you need to actually communicate with the other person and solve it. You could drag it out and say nothing. And also, from most of the guys I know, a lot of guys have a relatively simple mind. And so you could say to a guy, nothing, and he goes, oh, okay, cool. Well, that's great then. And then moves on. And then you're sitting there pulling your hair out going, what are you thinking? I'm not fine. And it's like this funny thing where you just said, yeah, I'm fine. And the guy actually thought that. Like, sure, sometimes he's ignoring it, but sometimes some guys, I have actually seen people where a girl said no, nothing. And the guy was like, oh, okay, cool. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's fine. I think it seemed fine. And he's like, well, that's the problem. And then, you know, you're texting and it's a blow up and it's an upset and it's a whatever afterwards. So don't let it drag out. Just handle it. Again, this goes both ways. You don't need the drama. There's plenty of drama out in the world. Your relationship does not need to be a source of drama. There are plenty of other problems to solve. And if you find that you keep creating this drama and these problems, then maybe start to pay attention to the fact that maybe you're doing things to actually create this antagonism. Maybe there's little things that you're doing that you upset the other person, or you're doing something else on purpose. Maybe there's other little things that are being done, and frankly, most of the time, they're not big things. Maybe you don't need to do that because you need to just do more in your life. Like maybe get more active, find a hobby, you know? Like if you feel inclined to make the game, the fight between you and your spouse, man, that is just not a good place to be, right? So if there is a problem and somebody says, hey, are you okay? Is there a problem? Hey, what's wrong? And you say nothing, don't say nothing. Just say, look, here's what upset me, here's what was going on. You guys can talk it through. It doesn't need to be, you know, a super like yelly thing or whatever. Just talk through it, get it sorted out, and move on in life. Number 5, your love and respect. One that you're not gonna hear a lot, most likely, is that the guy wants your love and respect. Like, yes, they may do things in order to get that, and that goes back to the passion point from earlier, but you're not gonna hear from them like, oh, hey, can you just, you know, give me, you know, more love or send more love my way or respect, you know, that kind of thing. And obviously from a guy's side, we need to actually do things that then cause and create love and respect, right? So it's both sides to that thing. But also, guys won't ask for it. And so if you're kind of overlooking that, and again, maybe a little bit of time has gone into your relationship, look for ways that you can share more love and respect. And again, it's not all bedroom. It could be just going out on dates. It could be going out and hanging out with great people. It could be just going out yourselves. Like maybe find something you could do together, like a hike, on a weekend morning or whatever. Whatever those things are that you can do those things and do them together as a couple. All right, number 6, this one's very interesting because you're allowed to have different interests. And a guy won't necessarily say that, a girl won't necessarily say that, but it's okay to have separate interests. Like you don't necessarily need to do everything together all the time, every day, all the time, unless you want to, in which case, okay, cool, do it. That's fantastic. But it doesn't make your relationship any worse off because you have things that you have different interests in or want to spend time apart. Now, if you want to spend a ton of time apart, maybe you're doing some things that you don't feel too good about that can lead that, or maybe you're in the wrong relationship. I mean, that's kind of deep and hard to look at. But I love spending time with Hana-li, right? My wife. Hana-li's my wife. I love spending time with her. But we also do have different interests. So I like things like flying, right? And I have, love racing motorcycles and like all these other things that I also love to do. She doesn't necessarily love to do that. And that's okay, but she also likes to do things like dance and has a lot of other hobbies, right? There are things that we do together, but a guy would never ask to say, hey, I want to spend time apart. He may say, hey, I'm going to go out with my friends and go out and do some things and, or have a guy's night or whatever. And that's okay. Like, allow that to occur some, right? Because there is that part of like, good, you get a little separation, you get to come back together. You get a little separation, you come back together. And again, some people literally want to do everything all the time, every day, always together, and that's okay if that's what you want for your relationship. But there are a lot of guys and girls out there who don't necessarily want to do that. And so it's okay to have him go out and do a guy's night, or he would, if he said, hey, why don't you go and do a girl's night? That doesn't mean he hates you and doesn't want to be with you anymore and wants to like whatever, all kinds of weird stuff. It could just mean that he wants to go have a little time, wants you to have a little time, and you guys can go and hang out separately. In our case, I end up traveling a lot, she travels a lot. Sometimes, a lot of times now, we do travel together, which is awesome and it's amazing. But there are times where I go out of town and she's not necessarily there. She stayed at home, or vice versa. Sometimes she'll go out and she performs and I go out and I speak, and we're not necessarily together. Well, then you come back and just make sure when the person comes back, also create on that relationship more. Right? Like use that as an opportunity to be like, hey, how are you? Like, guys, make an effort. Get out of the car, like go into the airport and surprise her, bring her flowers, like things like this you could do to make sure that you're actually creating on that relationship. But also, it doesn't have to be a nagging in either direction. Like if you aren't able to be together, you don't need to nag about it in either direction. Like if the person is gonna go out, don't nag on the fact that they're gonna go out and do something on their own. Unless it's happening all the time, then maybe that's something you guys need to sort out in your relationship. But set the boundaries, make them clear, make them something that you guys both understand and agree on. And that should simplify it, right? But also realize a little time apart sometimes, it could be a good thing, right? And then you get excited about seeing the person again and fantastic. All right, point number 7, you succeeding. I will tell you from my personal experience, I love seeing Hana-li succeed. I love seeing her succeed. It's like one of my favorite things, period, hands down, anything in the world. I love seeing her succeed. And so take the opportunity to actually spend time on your career, on your job, on your life, on whatever you need to do so that you're succeeding. If you're gonna take on a hobby, go and do it, but be really good at it. Be a professional at it. If you're gonna get going in your work, then be a professional at it. If you need help, talk to the person, talk to your spouse in a way that says, hey, I need your help. I could use your advice on how to handle this situation. Maybe they bring a different viewpoint. Maybe they bring up some good points, right? And so listen and take those into account. That could be a good way to go. Hana-li, she's a workout fanatic. I want to see her succeed. As a performer, when she goes on stage, every time she performs, I'm like, whoa. Oh my gosh, she is amazing and the world needs to see this It's sexy to see her succeeding. It's amazing, it's inspirational, it's exciting, it's really cool to see her succeed. So in your relationship, it goes both ways. If you guys are running into problems, really make a list of what the problems are. Like if you've seen your own career and your life, your hobbies, your goals, whatever, write them down and you start to look at them and you're starting to see how you can solve them. You're gonna start to find out ways to do that. I guarantee you that the problems won't be solved by drinking a bunch of alcohol, getting totally, messed up, and just binge watching TV and food all day long. Although it is nice sometimes to be able to have some extra food and have like a cheat meal and a whatever. But if your cheat meal is every day or every other day or 3 times a day like mine was, then it's not necessarily a good way to go. Seeing the other person succeed is something both of you want. So share that and use that as a point of reality that you guys can have in your relationship. Go ahead and comment, let me know. Were there other points that you like to see? Maybe things that you don't necessarily talk about, or maybe things that you would talk about. Go ahead and comment below and let me know. All right, you guys are amazing. Happy couple out. I will see you guys later. Bye.